Most of the internet knows the Backrooms as a community-driven wiki filled with endless levels and video game survival mechanics. Kane Parsons took a different route. He built a highly grounded, retro-futuristic techno-thriller. In this specific universe, you won't find scientists or officials referring to it as the Backrooms. To them, this dimension is officially designated the Complex. The Complex is an active, evolving mirror. It constantly absorbs and perfectly replicates human architecture, generating endless, distorted iterations of damp yellow hallways, retro malls, and sterile office spaces. People do not find doors into this space. They fall into it through invisible structural weaknesses in our reality called null zones, a spatial glitch colloquially known as no-clipping. The threat lies in the absolute randomness of the environment. A single step down a familiar hallway can result in slipping out of reality without warning. While the environment looks abandoned, it harbors a singular, highly aggressive macroorganism. A microscopic strain of common hay bacillus, bacteria, entered the complex and hyper-evolved, transforming into a massive, spindly macroorganism. Because it relies entirely on sound to hunt, it breaks down the vocal cords of its human victims, absorbing them to perfectly mimic human screams and lure in its next prey. The outside world only learned about this threat through physical evidence left behind by early victims. In 1991, a young filmmaker accidentally clipped through a floor, encountered the entity, and dropped his camera back through a null zone to Earth. Replacing supernatural demons with a plausible biological pathogen changes the nature of the mystery. It forces you to look past the monster and ask exactly who opened the door to this place. The answer lies with the Async Research Institute, a highly secretive U.S. government-backed corporation operating out of San Jose in the late 1980s. Async's initial motivation was entirely utilitarian. They wanted to tap into an alternate, infinite dimension to solve the severe, gridlocked real estate shortages and global overpopulation crises of the decade. Between 1988 and 1989, Async engineered the Low Proximity Magnetic Distortion System, or LPMDS, designed to focus massive amounts of magnetic energy at a single point to puncture the barrier between dimensions. On October 17, 1989, test number 6 successfully breached the barrier, creating a gateway known as the threshold. But the resulting tear generated a catastrophic energy spike. That catastrophic energy spike rippled out into the real world, triggering the deadly Loma Prieta earthquake that leveled parts of California. The disaster didn't end there. As the portal stabilized, null zones began tearing open globally, causing massive spikes in missing person cases around the world. The danger inside the complex extends beyond architecture and bacteria. Once inside, the standard laws of physics deteriorate, and time itself warps. This becomes horrifyingly clear through the arc of Peter Tench, an async researcher who gets separated from his team during a routine expedition. While wandering alone, Tench crosses an invisible spatial boundary. By the time he navigates his way back to the exit, months have passed on Earth, and his own corporation has already covered up his presumed death. By puncturing the threshold, Async shattered the structural integrity of reality, leaving their own scientists displaced and stranded in timelines they can no longer control. This dense, meticulously constructed YouTube lore eventually caught the attention of A24, who tapped Kane Parsons to direct a theatrical expansion of his universe at just 20 years old. The cinematic leap brings serious prestige to the project, anchored by a leading performance from Chiwetel Ejiofor. The film expands the mythology by revealing that the complex acts as a prism, refracting human history. If a building is fully intact on Earth, a perfect copy mirrors it inside the Backrooms. But if a building is demolished in the real world, the complex is forced to update. The absorbed architecture breaks down, leaving behind floating, impossible structures that resemble a glitching, corrupted 3D rendering. The Backrooms are not a random assortment of yellow walls. The space operates as a decaying, interactive database of humanity's forgotten infrastructure. The film's protagonist, Clark, is an isolated, alcoholic salesman who inadvertently discovers a portal right in the basement of his furniture store. Clark's journey redefines the threat as a psychological struggle, where the immediate danger is a lingering, internal emotional trap. The environment targets vulnerable individuals, literally swallowing lonely people alive by manifesting physical representations of their own poorly remembered pasts. Parsons weaponizes nostalgia to show that the architecture of our own isolation can be far more confining than an endless maze.